Feeling damn good about this team. I'm happy at the timing of having you on the show because I don't know if you saw, but you're too busy filming stuff because you're damn
Don't
famous
know
and a
if I
movie guy.
saw.
Yeah, you definitely
Okay.
saw. But man, how are we feeling right now? Are vibes high in the Copeland household?
So I don't want to be that guy, but I'm going to be that guy. At the beginning of this season, I said I think they're going to be about a 500 team, and hopefully they can squeak in the playoffs, and then maybe some stuff is going to happen. But by mid-season, hopefully they start to gel. Well, it seems like they're kind of gelling a little bit before midseason, and hopefully it's not too little too late. But I mean, if they were in the Pacific, they'd be leading the division. It's, I feel good about it because I feel like, man, the DNA of the entire team changed. I think Marner leaving and then all of those additions between Michelli and Juan and Joshua, like it's a lot of change. And I understand that some teams can gel just like instantly with a lot of change, but that's just not every team. And I think it's just so hyperbolic because it's Toronto and it's under this microscope, and we all know about the fan base and people have their opinions and all of that. But I mean, let's be real here. The Leafs' worst season, they had 20 wins. Okay. We're nowhere near that. So I see people, being apoplectic about this thing like, it's the worst Leafs team they've ever seen. Come on, clearly you didn't grow up in the Ballard era. Like they're a good team and they're going to get even better. And I think we're starting to see that now. Sadly, sometimes it takes taking a voice out of the room and adding another. And that seems to have kind of done the trick too. But for whatever reason, it was almost like they suddenly bought into what Berube was saying. But I also think a lot of it had to do with the line shuffling. And I think that's what Berube was doing throughout most of the season, was trying a bunch of different combos to see, okay, one of these got to click because there's a lot of talented guys on each line, but they just didn't seem to be fully clicking. Well, now, man, you look at that third line and on paper you'd go, really? But it works, man. Like Jason Robertson, or sorry, Nick Robertson. Sorry, I saw the rumors about him coming to Toronto. But Nick Robertson and the way he's been hustling, not only that, but knocking people off the puck too. Like he's a damn pit bull out there, and I love it. And I think honestly, it's just he's being given the runway now to truly show. Oh, okay, when I play more, I will be a better defensive player because I'm getting more reps. Um, and people talk about Rielly, and I get it, the plus minus and everything, but find me a guy who dives across the net like that in a game like that, which means a lot to them, but outside looking in, they go, really, you're going to make that effort on that? Well, yeah, he is, because he wants to win. And more than anything, that's one of the other things that has always bothered me with the fan base is you don't think those guys want to win? Of course they do. Absolutely they do. You think they don't feel like crap if they lose? Absolutely they do. Um, and a lot of it has to do with locker room, I think. Pro wrestling is what it is, but it's still a locker room environment. And when you're in a good locker room, when you're maybe in a not so great locker room, but you also know who the glue are in those locker rooms. Now you got a guy like Laughton who I think fully feels comfortable there. He's not coming in at the end of the season trying to kind of introduce himself to what he is. Now they know. And I think it's making a difference, man, because he's not a fourth line player, but he's doing it and he makes that fourth line dangerous. And I think he's upped everybody's game on that line. And I think, man, I can't say enough about Troy Stetcher. I love that dude. Like the attitude that he shows, the hustle that he shows, every shift. That dude don't take a shift off. And that's exactly the type of example that I think I would want to see. This guy who's in his 10th year, he's been on how many teams? He's picked up off waivers and he comes in and starts playing over 20 minutes a night because of his hustle, because a guy like Berube understands what he brings to the table, but also what he brings to the locker room, just from the outside looking in anyway.
Well, that's it. Thanks for coming on. You covered everything.
I realized as I was talking, I'm like, I've been talking for a long time here.
I love it. It's easy to do, man. But like going back to, in the summertime, we said, there is a lot of change here going on. this might take some time to adjust to, and they got to change their mentality and, you know, the buzzwords over the summer and identity and DNA and all that shit. So it did take some time. I don't know if anyone imagined it could be that bad and uninspiring. Do you look at it now that, and again, we don't know if this is going to continue on this type of play, but it certainly is time to announce that it appears they've found something. Do you think it was just like the stubbornness of getting the old habits out of these guys and actually adopting Berube hockey and starting to play the right way together, and now they're seeing the benefits of that?
So I think Willie's comment was really eye-opening. You know, when he said, you know, I don't know if I've ever felt like this. I think every Leafs fan went, "Whoa, Willie? Okay, Mr. Cool." Like he's feeling it now too. I think that's when things started to change. That was the turnaround. And whether it was the rest of the team hearing it from him, the guy who doesn't really seem to sweat anything, I don't know. I don't know if it was, you know, bringing in Steve Sullivan. Again, I think moving McMahon up with Matthews made a hell of a difference, and nobody's really talking about it. It's upped both guys' games. And you see McMahon, like, you see him in the friggin' locker room. Dude's jacked. Like, yeah, put him on a line with Matthews so he can knock some people out of the way and get the puck to him. Like, okay, I get that. Plus, with his bursts, like, that was a big change. You know, because we tried Domi on the top line with Matthews before, and it's good, sure, but adding McMahon seemed to really change the dynamic, and then that puts, you know, really someone pretty lethal on each line, especially with the way Robertson's playing now. You know, because you put him on that third line, you have Nice, Tavares, like, and then you have Laughton on the fourth, like that's. Not only is it showing with the amount of face-off percentages, but like they got good centers, really good centers, and even with arguably your top defensive, easily your best defensive pair anyway, with McCabe and Tanev out, and they're still finding a way. And I think more than anything, that's the thing that's impressed me. Okay, they can win a 2-1 low event, gritty, grinding game like last night, or they can win 7-5. Or they can dominate an entire game and win it 4-1 like they did against the Panthers. They're showing they can win different ways. They can play different ways. And I think that's pretty important, because before it was their firepower. And I feel like now it's truly like, it feels the most like a Berube team, because it's that mix of both. And you know, they out Panthered the Panthers the other night. Like, they kind of beat them up. And that was good to see.
Yeah, it was awesome. And I think, to your point, like, the sidebar story for me is the PK has been unbelievable since Scott Laughton came back, and the faceoff dot 19-1 last night was Scotty Laughton in the faceoff circle, right?
95%. Like, what?
Never heard of it.
Not only that, but 14-0 in the defensive zone. Yeah. That's massive. 14-0. Like, when they were in that 3-5, the 5-on-3, like, if he doesn't win those faceoffs, those draws, that's an entirely different conversation.
Cope, where do you think Willie Nylander is going to fit when he returns here?
So me and my buddy Mike have been talking about that. He's like, I wonder what happens when Willie comes back. Like, does that throw a wrench in things? But they were already starting to click when Willie was there. So, you know, I don't see how having a guy that talented is going to be a bad thing, especially with the amount of times they go to overtime, because that's where I find they miss Willie the most. Because who do you have to go up against Zegras? Well, okay, Matthews. Okay, Tavares, nice. But, like, that break a game open with one rush guy is Willie, especially, you know, when it's 3-on-3. So I don't see how you can look at a player that talented and not say it's a bonus to have him back. And again, I think his comments might have spurred some action, you know.
I wanted to add too that I think it's not being mentioned enough, but the importance of the way Dennis Hildeby has played this season. Like, last night, even, I know he makes 22 stops, Cope, but, like, I think some big ones on that 5-on-3, some big ones early on. he's living up to the potential and the hype, and especially with no Anthony Stolarz to be found, I want to give some appreciation here to Dennis Hildeby.
Great call. And how amazing is it that after decades of the goaltending, man, if anything, goaltending is the biggest strength. And that changed when Stolarz came, and him and Waller the 1-2 punch. But, Hildeby was always a question mark. He ain't a question mark anymore. Like, he is an NHL goalie. Like, he's good. And just being so big and long and his side to side too. I mean, he's really good. And, then the danger is, okay, well, we got 3 goalies. I guess we got to get rid of one. But in terms of health with Woll and Stolarz, I'd be very wary of getting rid of Hildeby.
Mm-hmm. We don't have a crystal ball. We don't know if this play that they've found here is going to continue, but it certainly looks like
Let me grab
found
my crystal
something.
ball real quick.
Yeah. You want to take a peek at that thing for me? Unfortunately, we don't have one. We just got to give predictions. And I mean, the numbers were not great coming off Christmas time. What do you think, though? Is this team, are they going to make the playoffs here and go and be able to play in the postseason and see what they can do?
I think so. I really do. I think now you're really starting to see the full, kind of limits of what this team can be when they play like a team. And again, did it take almost half a season? Yeah, but I don't think that's necessarily abnormal either. When you make the amount of changes that they had to make. And yeah, you can use injuries as an excuse, but come on. I mean, between them and Florida have had a lion's share of injuries. So, there's that aspect too. Like, maybe as these guys are starting to gel, some drop out. It's like, okay, well, that's hockey, but that can also be an element as to why they weren't firing on all the cylinders, maybe. For whatever reason, though, whether it's multiple reasons, which is probably the case, but man, they're playing good, and they're playing like 200-foot, aggressive, angry, just like dog on a bone hockey. And that's playoff hockey. And that is an element that I don't think I've seen quite like this before, because it feels like there's that element on every line now. And maybe maybe your top line didn't really have that before. It's got it now. You throw McMahon on there, you get Domi in there, and it's got it. Let alone Matthew's strength, right? He's a big dude. But there's a little bit of sandpaper on every line. And I think that's a difference that I don't know if they've necessarily quite had to this extent anyway, especially, the heaviest team in the NHL with Waugh and Joshua, if he can come back this season, hopefully. Like, it's a pretty gnarly team too.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.